Now is it audible? Now clearly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Gandhian era. So good evening, friends. Yesterday we saw, where did we stop? Saurav, where did we stop yesterday?
Sir, we completed this home rule. We have completed
Where?
till home rule, sir. Home rule has completed.
Okay,
Home rule. Yeah.
Now arrival of Gandhi. So during the home rule movement, approval is not given by the Congress president. So Tilak and Annie Besant, they start the home rule. So this second mass movement did not get approval of Gandhi. So now the rise of Gandhi in Congress is something called miracle. So you can see prior to arrival of Gandhi, the politics were very different. Either it was moderate phase politics or extremist. But Gandhian politics is totally different from both of them. He brings with a new kind of politics. So he goes to the experiences of Satyagraha and other things prior to his arrival in India, in South Africa, where he fought, because he was humiliated by the British people, and that humiliation he took to his heart, and he started to fight for the rights. And it was Gokhale who called Gandhi to come to India. And prior to his when he came, Gokhale asked Gandhi to take a tour of India, become acclimatized with what is happening in India, various region, what are the issues, and then he asked him to jump into the leadership. So prior to arrival, so Gandhi takes the tour. So Gandhi was born in Porbandar in the Gujarat area in 2nd October 1869. He married at the age of 13 to Kasturba Gandhi. If Gandhi had married today, what would have happened?
Arrested for child marriage.
Poxo Act. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Lucky Gandhi had escaped. Okay. So later, we can see degree of law he earned in England, and because of his, he joined in the bar at law. So he wanted to started liking the English culture. So he used to uh, attire himself in the Western clothing. Later, he left to India. So after his arrival in India, so a big businessman, Gujarati businessman, wanted his services. Dada Abdullah, he was a Gujarati Bania, and he wanted Gandhi to become his legal advisor. So he got a lucrative offer to work in South Africa. And when Gandhi went there as a advocate and lawyer, so he had to face severe racism there. And there he started his journey to take a stand to fight for the oppressed classes and Indians, particularly, who had gone there hundreds of years ago as indentured laborers. Indians in South Africa were called as coolies, and they were derogatorily called, and their marriages were not recognized. Then what type of marriages were recognized? Only the Anglican Christian. That type of marriage was only the marriage it was recognized, and they were to pay undue taxes. What do be undue taxes? There was something called indentured laborers, because they were brought here as slaves and indentured laborers to South Africa. They have to pay one tax, derogatory tax, as indentured laborers tax. And they also put derogatory rules. they were not able to travel. So if they are bringing in one state, they have to stay there only. They cannot travel or migrate for work from Pretoria to Johannesburg. They cannot travel. So in this way, there was severe restrictions on the movement of people to live as well as to earn their living. And Gandhi supported the call, and he had to take up his fight for the injustice meted out to the people who were brought by the colonizers from India to South Africa. So Gandhi learned his techniques of satyagraha, other things, when he was arrested and when he was put in jail in South Africa. He read the lives of great leaders and the techniques of the Western political thought and other things. And he wanted to use this, what he called non-violence, as well as the uh, civil disobedience techniques. And he learned these things uh, through books in when he was in jail, when he read all those lives. And also, so in 1915, Gokhale invited Gandhi. When Gandhi came, prior to his taking up leadership, Gandhi was requested by Gokhale to go all over India and become familiarized. So prior to that, Gandhi wanted to what you call test his techniques, whether testing in a smaller place. Then he wanted to take on a larger scale. So what are the techniques of Gandhi? Gandhi's first technique is satyagraha. What do you mean by satyagraha? It is a invitation. Satya means truth. Graha means holding to truth. So this satyagraha was one among the powerful weapons of what? Non-violent nature. So you will not, what you call, use violence, you will not use weapons, but you will use the technique of what? Holding the truth without any resistance or violence. So based on the doctrines of truth, who had what you called inspired, you can see that Thoreau, Rousseau, Emerson, Tolstoy, all these great leaders, Western political thinkers, had a bearing on the mindset or the it is it created an impact on Gandhi's life as well as his way of thinking. So Western political thinkers. So he wanted to use the learning into Indian scenario. So Satyagraha will involve Hijrat, fasting, and Hartal without using any what you called um, weapons. So second technique, Gandhi, which he wanted to use in the
Sir,
national movement. Yes,
sir, what is Hijrat?
he's able to hear me.
Yes, sir.
Hijrat, if you see in Islamic meaning, the first flight of Prophet from one place to Mecca to Medina. If you see, they use this flight, and that they called as the calendar. Hijrah, they call no Islamic. So that means in truthful way, you go and fight for the cause of the people, and with migration, you go to one place to another to fight and hold on to the truth. It's called hijrat.
Sir, thank you, sir.
1 minute, I'm getting a call. So second technique Gandhiji used was non-cooperation. What is the non-cooperation technique? It is a duty of a virtuous man not to cooperate with what kind of laws? The unjust laws and those implemented by those people in power who are what? Evildoers. Person who does evil, who implements these evil laws. So non-cooperation is a mild form of agitation. The civil disobedience movement is that you will disobey all the unjust laws of the tyrant ruler. Tyrant means what? Who has created what kind of? Yeah.
Tyranny.
Huh?
Who is ruling with tyranny? Like his rule is
Iron hand.
oppression.
That means what?
Oppression.
Oppression of people. Injustice to people. So all these injustice which is comes with unjust laws, it will be disobeyed. And according to Gandhi, civil disobedience is the most powerful weapon, and even it is more powerful than an armed rebellion. So this is the extreme form of political agitation. So Gandhi uses satyagraha techniques, his techniques of satyagraha, non-cooperation, civil disobedience. Where does Gandhi use this technique? He uses in three what he called agitations. Prior to the agitation, he tests his technique in the Ahmedabad mill strike, Kheda Satyagraha, and Champaran Satyagraha. So, what are the other methods Gandhi used apart from Satyagraha, non-cooperation, and civil disobedience? He also used the Hindu-Muslim unity program where he spoke. And what was the famous song of Gandhiji? Raghupati Raghava, Raja Ram, Patita Pavana Sita Ram, Ishwar Allah Tere Naam. That is,
Sabko sammati de bhagwan.
so that is what was sung as a bhajan, which spoke about the unity of the religion as well as the cultural heritage of India. And he also started his program, which is for the upliftment of women, for self-reliant, as well as to education of women. And he also started something called Varda scheme of education and also village reconstruction. He spoke about the cottage industries and also self-reliance in the villages, cottage industries and self-reliance in the village. So all these methods and include the untouchables welfare and also popularizing the khadi, cotton clothes. This was very much the other methods apart from satyagraha, non-cooperation, as well as civil disobedience. So Gandhiji used these techniques in his political career, particularly in the Gandhian era. So he started his political career from 1915, but his he entered into the main stream politics as a leader of Congress in a very high position. It was only in the 1918 to 1947. Though he entered the political arena in 15, he got only after 3 years. By the time he readied his techniques and he had traveled all over the country. So Gandhi, he wrote many journals. So he famously remarked that the sole aim of journalism should be service. That means the aim of journalism, patrika, and is only seva. So he also started writing in South Africa in 1903. He wrote the Indian Opinion. Later, he also wrote about the newspaper called Young India. In Now Jeevan, he also spoke about the new life. Now Jeevan means new life. And he also spoke about the welfare of the Harijan. Harijan means people of God. So this term he gave to the untouchables, or Dalits, are called as Dalits. So Gandhiji also published his book in Gujarati. So in 1909, he published his Gujarati book called Hind Swaraj. And also he wrote his autobiography called My Story of Experiments with Truth, and also Satyagraha in South Africa. So all these had enabled Gandhi one among the greatest politicians of the world, as well as the foremost freedom fighter of the country. So Gandhiji, to the call of Gokhale, he returned to India on 9 January 1915 by his political mentor, Gopala Krishna Gokhale. Gopala Krishna Gokhale advised Gandhi to take a tour of entire the country, various regions of the country. And he said that you should become very much acclimatized with what is happening all over the country. And with this, Gandhi will become what? Gandhi will become the person who will understand the politics, and he will take. So Gokhale, who was the president of Congress, which year? In 1905, Gokhale was the president of Congress. So after 10 years, in 1915, he wanted a new lease of life, new type of politics to emerge. So he saw Gandhiji will be the person who will be the apt person to take up the mantle. So Gandhiji's emergence played a very pivotal role in the politics of India. So he started to carve his name in the history of the Indian national movement, and also he played a very divisive role in gaining the Indian independence. So Gandhiji relied on the tools of ahimsa and satyagraha to fight. He never wanted violence to be part of his struggle to gain freedom for the country. So Gandhiji's techniques were what you called were influenced by the political ideologies, where he learned to Rousseau, Thoreau, Tolstoy, all the great leaders. So his greatest contribution to politics, he took shape. In which place his politics took shape? Where was Gandhi's politics shaped? In India or South Africa?
India.
South Africa, sir.
South Africa.
In South Africa. His political ideology, everything shaped in South Africa, because he started politics there only. He started the agitation, everything. Satyagraha, prior to arrival in India, he had led. So you can see the concept of non-cooperation, NCM, non-cooperation, which is became a movement by Gandhi in India. But this non-cooperation, is it new? Something Gandhi invented, non-cooperation?
No, no, sir.
So he had learned, and this non-cooperation is found in the works like Ruskin, Russian writers, Ruskin, Tolstoy, and also Thoreau. So these great Western political thought writers had this non-cooperation in their writings. So Gandhi learned this technique of non-cooperation, and this techniques it very much what he called influenced him, and there was a very big impact on the life of Gandhi, on the writings of Ruskin, Tolstoy, and Thoreau. So you can see the phases of passive resistance or satyagraha. So he founded in 1916 the Sabarmati Ashram. So the satyagraha was shaped in Gandhi's life from 1906 to 1916. The techniques in Gandhi was shaped. These techniques all he learned way back in South Africa. There this got shaped 1914, 1906 to 1914. So 1915 he arrives in India, and now he is given a call, a mandate by his political mentor, go around India, get familiar, and then take up the cause of the people and fight. So first step he did was he wanted his own organization. So he founded Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad. So prior to his arrival in politics in India, Gandhiji had what he called his agitation in South Africa. So in South Africa, Gandhiji took Satyagraha in South Africa from 1906 to 1914, Gandhiji's politics in South Africa. So Gandhiji, first he took the political is the Satyagraha against RC. What is RC? Registration certificate. What was this Satyagraha against registration certificate? So the South African government, British, they brought a new legislation. According to this new legislation in South Africa, marriages, they made what you called mandatory for the migrant Indians or already who are there, no, the Indians who were there in origin hundreds of years ago, they had to mandatorily carry this certificate. Why they have to mandatorily carry? It is type of harassment. So the Indians had to carry, and whenever a white man sees Indian, they will ask for RC certificate. If there is no registration certificate, no RC certificate, then that person will be kicked and he will be punished. So Gandhiji led a satyagraha against this, against the discriminatory practice of putting a registration certificate who are already part of the continent of Africa. They have Indians have become one among the mainline society, and the Britishers are using a discriminative practice. So Gandhiji wanted to fight against this practice of giving registration certificate to already settled Indians who are there hundreds of years ago, and they did not come on their own will. They were taken by will, or they were taken by force to South Africa.
Through force.
So then the British ideology of giving them registration certificate, is it a right practice or it was derogatory? Because already these people were there for hundreds of years, and also it is British who took them to the continent of Africa, not by the will of the people. So this was the first technique that Gandhi used. Second, Gandhiji used his campaign against the restrictions which was put on Indian migration, that is going from one place to another. So Gandhi's campaign against the restrictions imposed by the British on Indian migration. All these are shaped in South Africa. So what campaign did Gandhi do? So Gandhiji campaigned against a new legislation brought by the British government in South Africa. What was the agenda that British brought? It imposed legislations on the Indians, and if anybody defied, they will be punished and they will be harassed. They cannot go from one South African province to another province for either for work or to visit a relative or for some other purpose. They cannot go travel from one province to another other province. So this was very much what he called discriminative, and because Indians were relocated there by the Britishers many years ago, they had what you call relatives everywhere. They were what you called scattered. So if a person wants to go from one province to other province, particularly from Pretoria, a person wants to go to Johannesburg or to some other region there in South Africa, they cannot go. So Gandhiji campaigned against this, what he called injustice meted out to the Indian migrants. The third campaign Gandhi did in South Africa was his campaign against poll tax, against poll tax, and also the invalidation of Indian marriages. Who brought this derogatory, what he called uh, law, which is anti-Indian? British. So the agenda was that a poll tax of £3, they have to be paid by whom? They have to be paid by the indentured laborers, ex-indentured laborers. Is it injustice or not? Who brought this indentured laborers? Who? Who brought them to South Africa?
British.
British.
British. Now, British are putting £3 per person as poll tax. You have to pay. Even though if you are there in South Africa for 100 years, you have become part of that culture, you have to pay still. Every person has to pay £3. Isn't it something called draconian and derogatory?
Yes, sir.
And this he wanted to, Gandhiji said, it has to be abolished. And second, invalidation of Indian marriages. According to the what he called the Indian marriages, which is conducted in the rights of Hindu rights, Parsi rights, Buddhist rights, or even Muslim rights. So it will not be considered as a marriage. So only according to the what you called the Anglican Christian Protestant, if you marry according to that right, it will be valid. So Hindu is not valid, Parsi religion, Buddhist religion, Muslim religion. So Gandhi, what you call fought. Why? Because why Gandhi took their cause? So Gandhi took their cause because the Supreme Court in South Africa, Supreme Court in South Africa, it gave a order that it invalidated all the marriages which was registered in the non-Christian rights. So only when it is Christian right and it is registered, it will be valid. So Gandhi took this campaign. So another issue Gandhi took, the fourth issue that he took from 1906 to 1914 in South Africa is his protest against the Transvaal Immigration Act. Transvaal Immigration Act of the British. What is this Transvaal Immigration Act? So India cannot migrate, Indians who are there, they cannot migrate from Natal to Transvaal. They cannot migrate from Natal in South Africa to Transvaal. So you can see that this, from going to one place to one other place, you cannot go and work. So Gandhiji had to fight for this injustice which is meted out to the Indians, and Indians have protested that this immigration, they cannot go from for the sake of work or to meet relatives or any other purpose. They are not what you called given the right to travel in South Africa. So Gandhi protested against this Transvaal Immigration Act. Okay, so these things Gandhi was very became very familiar. What are the four things? He had a satyagraha against registration certificate. Second, campaign against restrictions to Indian migrants. Third, campaign against poll tax and invalidation of Indian marriages. Fourth, protest against the Transvaal Immigration Act. So in this way, you can see by 1915, Gandhiji had quite a 10-year experience in the politics and leading the people's issues in South Africa. 1915 is what changes the politics and life of Gandhi. Gandhiji returned to India during his initial days. So he was asked by Gokhale to take up the cause. So he establishes Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad, and he was spending his time. He was not very popular, was quite unknown to Indians during this time. He is quite unknown. So Gandhiji, uh, so so he sought the guidance of Gokhale. So Gokhale was very much putting this nationalistic idea in him. He said, see, go study the socio-economic and political scenario of the Indians all over the region, which is prevalent, and then act accordingly. This was the advice of whom to Gandhi. Who gave this idea?
Gokhale.
Gopala Krishna Gokhale. So he asked Gandhi to go become familiar with the socio-political situation of the country and also act accordingly. So accordingly, Gandhi ji initiated his movement and participated. So he wanted to participate in three techniques. So he used Champaran Satyagraha in 1975 to check what? To check his political techniques where he used it. So he used his political in Satyagraha, he used his civil disobedience movement. And he used his technique of Satyagraha of the what you call strike or hartal, and also he put undue pressure. So he used this Satyagraha technique here in Ahmedabad. In Keda Satyagraha, he started the non-cooperation technique. So Champaran Satyagraha is the first political event Gandhiji officially took in 1917, and Ahmedabad is the second strike, mill strike, and Keda Satyagraha is the third. So he tests his three techniques of his political tool that is going to use against the British. So he uses as a small test area these three areas. Okay. So Champaran Satyagraha, where is Champaran? Champaran Satyagraha in 1915 is in Bihar. So you can see that Rajkumar Shukla, Raj Kumar Shukla. So Raj Kumar Shukla invited Gandhiji to Champaran, and he wanted to Gandhiji to take up the issues which is faced by the farmers. So this Bihar was the erstwhile Bengal province. They had lot of issues, particularly agrarian issues. So farming issues. The farmers, peasants, they have issues particularly in the context of indigo cultivation and indigo plantations which were exploited by the Europeans. So the peasants were forced to grow on a system called 3/20 system. What is called 3/20 system? It is called as Teen Katia system. What it is called? Teen Katia system. Saurav, what
Yes,
is
sir.
Teen Katia?
Sir, teen means 3 and kathia means portion, I think.
So if you see 3/20 in percentage is how much? In 3/20 means how much in percentage?
15%.
Okay, 15%. So this Teen Katia system 3/20 is a system which they had to work. So European planters demanded high rents and they also demanded illegal dues from the peasants for maximizing the profit. So this committee was formed by the Gandhi, particularly Rajkumar Shukla had invited him to take up this issue. Then Teen Katia was abolished and 25%. So you can see only 15%. So 85% is going where?
The
Of the
British.
produce. Don't you think it is illegal that 85% the farmer has to put his what you call sow the seeds, ready the ground, and he has to manure it, he has to what you call give water and take away all the weeds, everything, and harvest it. And finally, the 85% goes to owner or planter, 15% is only the farmer. In that farmer, he has to work the entire year, food, his what you call life dependency, everything depends on this. So Gandhiji was very much what he called instrumental in putting pressure on the planters. So this Teen Katia system, what was there, 3/20 system, which was existed in the erstwhile Bengal province of Bihar region, Gandhiji was instrumental in abolishing, which was 15%. Now there is some improvement in the conditions. So now they brought what? 1/4. 1/4 is how much?
25, sir.
So 25%. So now 25% of compensation will be provided. So is there is an improvement from 15 to 25? Is it an improvement or not?
Yes, sir. Improve.
It's an improvement. So it was a victory. So he was able to take up, no, Gandhiji's politics take up, made a difference. So you can see in this, who were there, you can see Rajendra Prasad, the first president of India, was part of this. Who were there? Who also were part of this? Rajendra Prasad. Then you'll find Mazhar ul Haq. Mazhar ul Haq. Then you will find Mahadiyu Desai. Mahadiyu Desai. Then Narahari Parikh. Narhari Parikh. And J.B. Kriplani. And others. J.B. Kriplani. So who were the leaders who were associated with the Gandhi? in Champaran Satyagraha of 1915? Saurav,
Sir,
who were the leaders who were associated with Gandhi?
Rajendra Prasad, Mazhar ul Haq, Mahadev Desai,
Hmm.
Narahari Parikh, and J.B. Kriplani.
Okay, so you can see Champaran Satyagraha was very successful.
Sir,
So the Champaran Satyagraha was successful. Now Gandhiji tested his technique. What technique did Gandhiji, what he called, they use? He used civil disobedience. Civil disobedience means what? It is the duty of the righteous man not to follow the evil laws. They will disobey. So people asked to disobey. So CDM was tested. What was tested? Civil
Civil
disobedience was tested. Okay, now second technique of Gandhi was tested. So what was the technique that he used in the Champaran Satyagraha? Civil disobedience. Gandhiji came to fight for the right. He was putting pressure. Officials came, they said, ask Gandhi to leave. Gandhiji did not leave. She said, I am ready to face trial and go to imprisonment, but I will not go away from the decision of fighting for the rights of the peasants. So finally, Gandhiji's what he called stubbornness and his keen desire to be a part, these fellows who were there, planters and government, was very much shaken by his what he call new technique. And Gandhiji was not an ordinary man. He is a barrister. He is a bar at law. He is a lawyer, and already he has what he called experience in South Africa, and now he's coming for the fighting. So what happened? So he was made a member in the inquiry committee. So Gandhiji's what you call stubbornness and his politics for disobeying the official orders, did it pay or it was a loss? Did it pay Gandhiji his stubbornness? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. It paid.
So it
Yes,
paid
sir.
means he was made the member. Finally, the hardships of peasant got reduced, not completely, not full, but it got reduced. No, earlier they were getting 15%. Now they are now got 25%, 1/4. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
this is technique of disobeying the official orders and fighting for the cause got tested. So CDM got tested in Champaran Satyagraha. So Ahmedabad bill strike. So you can see in 1918, in Gujarat region of Bombay Presidency, there was an issue. Why? Because Ahmedabad is called as the Manchester of India. So Ahmedabad, you can see there were dispute between the cotton mill owners and workers. And as you know that cotton was grown very heavily where? Which region?
Saurashtra and Maharashtra.
Maharashtra, or we can say the Bombay Presidency. So cotton is very important because what soil? Black soil, which is there in the Bombay Marathwada region, is very important for growing, which is clayey, and also what? Very little hard, and that is what required for the cotton, where water should retain on top, not below the soil. So in this way, you can see cotton mill owners, they were not giving them the bonus. What was the bonus? Plague bonus. Why was plague bonus came into the issue? Because India from 1876 onwards were facing huge plague, famine, and continuously. So they were given certain kind of money to restructure their lifestyle. How in a modern day life, how Corona struck. So in the age of technology, Corona struck, whole world got crippled. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Imagine 150 years ago, what would have been the situation? So what we have seen there would have been thrice or four times the deaths, and official statistics India government has not released, but we'll see that lakhs and lakhs of Indians died. So they were given some money. So the owners had to give some kind of a bonus so that they also improve in their lifestyle. So the owners discontinued this bonus. When they discontinued in bonus, there were lot of hardships for the workers. So the workers now had what they called were going on to demand to ask for strike. So now Gandhiji is asking the workers. So Gandhi comes to what they call Ahmedabad. In Ahmedabad, he tests his technique of satyagraha. What is this technique? He uses technique called satyagraha. That means what? Hunger strike, upavasa. What is that? Hunger strike. He uses this technique. So voluntarily he inflicts injury on his body for the sake of others by fasting unto death. So Gandhiji comes to rescue of these workers in Ahmedabad. Why? Because Ahmedabad, what ashram is there? Gandhi's ashram. What ashram is there?
Sabarmati, sir.
So it is in the vicinity. So Gandhiji has to become popular. No, he has to do something. No, so he comes and takes the causes of the mill workers who are fighting against their owners. So he says, ask them. Workers were demanding that what 50% wages should go hike. 50% hike they were asking. So Gandhiji said that no, if you ask for 50%, not even 10% they will increase. So go strategically. And I will support you. I will use my technique and I'll put my pressure. So Gandhiji asked workers to go on strike, hartal, strike. And then they put a demand of how much? 35% increase in their wages. So what did Gandhi do? He said, I will fast unto death, hunger strike. So now this is unfamiliar. Nobody has seen this kind of a politics where one person, and this Gandhi is not ordinary person. He's a very learned man. He's a lawyer. He has a big, what he called backing. So now Gandhiji's double strike. One is hunger strike by himself and strike of the mill workers and the demand for wages. All these tools pressurized whom? Pressurized the owners. Now owners cannot go. If Gandhi dies of hunger death, what will happen? Cotton mill. What is the issue in cotton mill? If you light, what will happen to cotton? What will happen when fire
It will
is
burn to ash.
so? If people come and put large numbers, Gandhiji, they burn their goods, what will happen? They will lose the entire mill. So instead of losing entire mill, we'll give some concession. So you can see that Gandhiji's demand of fasting unto that his pressure got worked. So demands were accepted. In this, you can see who invited Gandhiji to Champaran and who invited to Ahmedabad. Champaran, who invited?
Rajkumar Shukla.
Rajkumar Shukla. So who invited Gandhiji to fight for the cause of the Ahmedabad mill workers? Who? He was invited by Anusuya Sarabhai. Who invited Gandhi to fight for the cause of mill workers? Rahul, who invited? Anusuya Sarabhai was invited. Okay. So this entry of Gandhi changed. So what technique is now got tested? Which technique got tested?
Satyagraha.
Hunger strikes, Satyagraha. So Satyagraha got tested. And is it okay or not? It is tested okay. So you can see second, politics of Gandhi got tested. Third is the Kheda Satyagraha. So Kheda Satyagraha started in 1918. You can see that the crops in Gujarat failed because of various reasons and moreover environmental reasons. Now the farmers were entitled to get a what he called uh, uh, a remission from paying taxes according to the revenue code. What was the uh, uh, farmer should get? Remission. What do you mean by remission?
The remuneration for their work.
No. That is remuneration. That means remission
Exemption.
means don't pay.
Exemption.
For what? According to the revenue code. So there's a revenue code that if crop is failed or if there is no famine, drought, flood, if the crops are damaged, you need not pay the taxes. So he had got remission of taxes who farmers, but government was insisting on paying the payment of the revenue. Is it a double standard by the government? Yes or no? British government. So government was very adamant and they were using all means harassing the farmers. Now farmers were protesting that we will not pay, crop has formed. What happened? So government was very adamant, those farmers, peasants who are not paying taxes, the government ordered to seize their property. Whatever land, whatever is there, they will seize and government will make that as their own. So in this way, farmers started to lose land. So Gandhiji was called. So who were the leaders were associated? You can see Sardar Patel, Mohan Lal Pandya, Mohan Lal Pandya, and Narahari Parikh. Narahari Parikh. So Sardar Patel. So these leaders were associated. Now Gandhiji was brought specifically by these leaders to fight for the causes of the peasants who are fighting. So Gandhiji asked the peasants to not to pay the payment, hold the payment, don't pay. And later, so he said, don't follow any rules. What was the rule? The rule is to pay, but according to the revenue code, there's a possibility of revenue remission, but government is adamant, it is insisting, and government. So what it said, Kanji said, don't pay. That means what? Non-cooperation he is implementing. So non-cooperation is implementing. When non-cooperation is implemented, Gandhiji, what he said, he asked people to don't pay, not even a rupee. So now government, when they saw this kind of agitation by the people that they are not paying, irrespective of official enforcement, they are resisting. Now government became a little jittery because they thought that people, if we put pressure, if we seize their property and everybody will fall in line. But Gandhiji is asking them to resist. If this goes, it will go out of land. So government took one word, whoever can pay, let them pay. Whoever not in a position, let those people don't pay. In this way, government's adamancy came down. Their what we called their hardness, which was there, shown towards the people, also became what we call much softer. And now slowly they understand that if you touch them, it will become a very big problem. So we can see that Gandhiji was very successful in holding on to the non-cooperation, and that gave what? Victory. that only those who can pay, let them pay. That was the government stance. From adamancy, they have come down to whoever is possible to pay, let them pay. And that was a big victory for Gandhiji, and he tested his three techniques. And another technique Gandhiji had used in 1919 is called All India Mass Strike. Where he uses All India Mass Strike, Saurav? Gandhiji's technique, All India Mass Strike.
Rowlatt Act, sir.
Yes, good. So Rowlatt Act,
Hello,
Draconian Act in 1919,
can you
and
hear me?
pardon?
Can you hear me, sir?
No, I'm not able to hear you. Go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Saurav. So Rowlatt Act is called as anarchical and Revolutionary Crimes Act. It is similar to a UAPA Act, which is there now, draconian, UAPA, NIA, and all other acts which are draconian. So you can draw a parallel from today government to previous government in 1920s. So Revolutionary Anarchical Crimes Act, which was there in place, so it was so draconian that without any trial, a person can, anybody can be caught and he can be told that he's a revolutionary. He said, without trial, they will be landing in jail for minimum of 2 years. Is it draconian or something very people friendly act? 2 years they
Draconian, sir.
minimum. So this act was made to curtail the freedom movement. And Gandhiji called for mass protest against all India level. So Gandhiji, he started something called Satyagraha Sabha. Satyagraha Sabha, who Gandhiji organized Satyagraha Sabha. And this Satyagraha Sabha, he roped in all the youngsters who are in the Home Rule League, as well as pan-Islamists. What do you mean by pan-Islamists? What was the issue going on during that time for pan-Islamists? The Khilafat issue, which the British government abolished the caliphate and brought revolution with Mustafa al-Kemal Pasha. So all those people who are there, Home Rule League, pan-Islamists, were all brought into this, to the politics of Gandhi. Gandhi himself invited them to join Satyagraha Sabha, and this became All India Mass Strike. So this form of protest was finally chosen, and they observed this All India Mass Strike nationwide in all parts of the country. So now only you can see Gandhian politics is bringing national consciousness. Now only Indians are thinking about India. Earlier, all the politics with moderate and extremists, they were not reaching. They did not have that what you call feeling in them that we are Indians. Now Gandhian politics is going mass. That is why he is one among the greatest mass what you called leaders of the world history. So all the people joined him, and they have started this protest, and their agenda is Hartal, and Hartal plus fasting. When they fasted and Hartal, and they disobeyed all the what we call the laws, which is anti-Indian. So this civil disobedience. So you can see the mass strike and mass all India strike with civil disobedience, with Hartal, with fasting. So in this, all three techniques of Gandhiji was used. What all techniques? Fasting was used, hartals were used, non-cooperation was used, and civil disobedience was used. So this was the biggest, what he called mass strike, which coincided, and that becomes the mass politics of Gandhi, and that changed the whole politics of India and the world. You want to take a short break?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please take a 10-minute break and come back so that we'll go into the Jallianwala Bagh massacre and other revolutionary terrorism.
Okay, sir.
Sandra? Rahul, are you there? Saurav? Rajesh Khanna?
Hello, sir. கேக்குதுங்களா சார்?
தம்பி எப்படி எழுதுனீங்க எக்ஸாம்?
சார் நல்லா பண்ணிருக்கேன் சார்.
எவ்வளவு கொஸ்டின்ஸ் வரும் உங்களுக்கு?
சார் ஒரு 30 கொஸ்டின்ஸ் 35 போட்டுருக்கேன் சார்.
35 பத்தாவது தம்பி.
சரிங்க சார்.
ஒரு 50னா நீங்க போகணும்.
ஓகே சார்.
50ல இருந்து 55 கொஸ்டின் வரைக்கும் நீங்க அடிங்க. ஏன்னா நிறைய
சரிங்க சார்.
நிறைய பேர் இது ஃபெயில் ஆயிடுறாங்க.
சரிங்க சார்.
நீங்க வச்சாதான் அந்த 68 மார்க் இருக்கும் உங்களுக்கு.
ஓகே சார். ஓகே சார். நெக்ஸ்ட் டைம் பண்ணுங்க.
55 கொஸ்டின் நீங்க போய் தான் ஆகணும். வேற இதுக்கு
ஒரு எக்ஸ்ட்ரா டவுன்லோட் பண்ற மாதிரி
ஆன்சர் யூபிஎஸ்சி கொடுக்கறது ஒண்ணு இருக்கும்.
ஓகே சார்.
10 கொஸ்டின்.
ஆமா சார். ரீடிங் காம்ப்ரிஹென்ஷன்ஸ்லாம் அப்படிதான் சார்.
அதாங்க. சோ அதனால நீங்க ரொம்ப கேர்ஃபுல்லா இருக்கணும்.
சரிங்க சார்.
ஓகே. ஓகே
சார். Thank you sir.
Gandhian politics. So
Hello,
Gandhi.
sir.
Yes.
Kheda Satyagraha, here Gandhiji was not invited.
No, he was invited. In this meeting, you can see who are there. Sardar Patel is there. And apart from Sardar Patel, who are the other leaders who came? You can see Narhari Parikh.
Mohanlal Pandya.
Mohanlal Pandya,
Parikh.
others, all other leaders. He was invited only. Then only
Officially invited by whom, sir? Like any
not
personal?
one leader, not one specific leader. You will have Sardar Patel, Narhari Parikh, Mohanlal. Already Narhari Parikh was, he took place part in what? J.B. Kriplani, all those in Champaran Satyagraha.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can see
Yes, sir.
that now they are all become what he called the followers of Gandhiji. Okay,
Okay, sir.
So they had organized. So Gandhiji was invited by these, but not one particular person, but both Champaran and Ahmedabad, they were individual person who called them.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so you can see Gandhiji's techniques. What all is techniques? That is Hartal. What do you mean by Hartal? Hartal is called mild strike or temporary strike. Then you have Hirjat. What do you mean by Hijrat or Hirjat? Hijrat means it is in Islamic terms, it is the flight of Prophet Muhammad from Mecca to Medina. And modern day Hirjat is that if one government, somebody is oppressing in your place, which you claim as your ancestral place or the place where you live. So what you do is that you migrate, leave the place and go. So what that person can do if there's only empty land without no people, where they can implement the law? Are you getting me? So that means you will go outside from the land and you will protest in some other place. So Hirjat was one more technique. Then he used mass strike. Then he used civil disobedience, non-cooperation. All these things he became familiar. So once Gandhiji became familiar, he enters the national scene. So till now, Gandhiji became familiarized with what? With real India and also politics. Now he became one with India. With his techniques, people came to know a new kind of politics is there, which they have never seen. And now, without any weapons, he is using his techniques. Now he's becoming popular among the masses. Now women are coming, people are getting attracted to him. So he tested all his techniques now. Now all the leaderships were exhausted in the Indian National Congress. Now Congress gets a new leader called Gandhi, sudden miracle. Now he took up and he took the right opportunity when it came, and he brought into the mainstream politics. And now Gandhi becomes the sole leader of Congress. So 30 years is the Gandhian era. So you can see during this, prior to this Gandhian politics, during his era, Montagu Chelmsford gives one, what he called, he uh, makes a declaration in the House of Commons in the Parliament of London. There, Montagu, the Secretary of State, who's also the Member of Parliament and the Cabinet Minister of the London government, he makes a statement that regarding the political future of India, we are going to give reforms. What kind of reforms they are saying? They are going to increase association of Indians in administration, as well as they will develop self-governing institutions. In this, Indians will be having a greater say in the self-governing institution. This was the agenda which was declared in the House of Commons on 20th August 1917. So this became commonly known as August Declaration. So background is the Rowlatt Act. So Rowlatt Act was called Anarchical Revolutionary Crimes Act. This was meant to arm the government and to possible any uprising. So this was what he called, they used to arrest people, they cannot get bail and they will be tortured, and without any legal aid, they control the press, putting all draconian laws. In this way, Rowlatt Act was very, what you call, anti-Indian, and it was a very harsh act which was enacted and put against the Indians by the British. So during this period, you can see Satyagraha Sabha was formed. All the followers of pan-Islamists and the Home Rule League were attracted, and Gandhiji asked them to come and join this Satyagraha Sabha. So Gandhiji started propagating his ideas, and his ideas were aimed at the poor farmers, village people, and those areas where INC had earlier not concentrated. Now Gandhiji is concentrating. He understands that it is the people who can make the change. So he's going to the masses. So now people are saying new kind of politics, new kind of a leader, new kind of a dimension and hope in the freedom struggle. A new energy is being imparted, a new impetus is gained. And this impetus is through Gandhiji. And now political awakening started. So political awakening started with mass mobilization, and the great mass leader was Gandhi. A call for Hartal was given by Gandhi on 8th April 1919. So people came to protest. So this 8th April 1919, people came from every part of the country. So when people came, in particularly Punjab province, it became one among the most saddest day in Indian history. In Amritsar, in Punjab province, that time the governor was Brigadier General Reginald Dyer. That time was the what he called Michael O. Dyer was the governor, lieutenant governor, and he couldn't what he called bring down the protests. So Michael O. Dyer was lieutenant governor. So he called the police administration and military. He got Brigadier General Reginald Dyer. So Reginald Dyer comes, and Reginald Dyer takes over the administration using this Anarchical Revolutionary Crimes Act, emergency powers, and he takes over the entire administration. So people came in large numbers. They were protesting on 13th April. 13th April 1919. They came to the park called Jallianwala Park or Jallianwala Bagh. In this Jallianwala Park, you can see people came with unarmed and they were civilians. They were protesting and against why? Why? Because they're two important nationalist leaders, particularly Satyapal and Saifuddin Kichlu were deported without trial, and they were arrested and they were deported from India. So people were protesting against this in the Jallianwala Bagh. So Reginald Dyer, the Brigadier General, now he is the administrator of Punjab. He took over from Michael O. Dyer, the Lieutenant Governor. He banned, Reginald Dyer banned all the meetings, protests, hartals, everything. So many people were imprisoned. Particularly, you can see that on 13th April 1919, it is a very sad day because the massacre of Jallianwala Bagh people took place. On 13th April, people gathered where Saifuddin Kichlu and Satyapal was arrested and defined. People came at this park. It was three sides. It is a big park where three sides of the park were walled. That means there was no place for people to go. There was only one place opening. So in this park, there were many what we called divisions, and people were protesting and they were voicing out how injustice is meted out. So there were all thousands of people who are there gathered and they were protesting. Suddenly, you can see Reginald Dyer comes with troops and he is putting everybody with guns. And you can see everybody are training guns. And from every area, they go on to that and they shot dead all the people. So you can see more than thousands of people died who were peacefully without arm. They could not run because all the firing was done from the third side. They ran helter-skelter and many people were killed, and great what you called injustice was done to Indians. So you can see this was a very big what you call shock to Indians, particularly Gandhi ji. He was very much what you call taken back, and he surrendered the title which was given to him. What was the title British government had bestowed on Gandhi? The title of Kaiser-e-Hind, the title Gandhi ji gave back. Gandhi gave back. And Rabindranath Tagore, so you can see he was very much shocked, and he was one among the first Asian to be Nobel laureate. So he said, I cannot see such mass murders and aren't worthy of giving any title to anyone. So he gave back his title of Sir title, knighthood, he gave back to the British. So in this way, people were shocked by the injustice meted out to the Indians. So General Dyer opened, you can see that thousands of people were killed, injured, crowd could not escape. Reginald Dyer was the main person because he did not give any chance for the people to surrender or get arrested. The main motive of Brigadier General Reginald Dyer was to create terror. So many atrocities, and after that, they did not stop with that Jallianwala Bagh. They went all over Punjab. They put this martial law and they committed the same thing. And that many thousands of people died. You can see that how the bullet marks are still bearing and still etched in the minds of Indians. You can see that how they have hit the walls. So you can see that these are etched in the memory of people, that how the bullets are hit and people were massacred from death. So all these things are just a reminder to us how the Britishers had used iron hand to kill innocent protesters without any arms. They're protesting. So Rabindranath Tagore's returning of knighthood was also was very much a big act showing the dissent to the British that we will not cooperate with this kind of terror which is unleashed on the armless Indians. So 1919 Congress session was held at Amritsar. Why did Congress session held at Amritsar? Because Congress wanted to show its solidarity with the victims of the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, and also they wanted to show to the world that we are with the people who are oppressed. So in this way, Congress, under the leadership of new leaders, Pandit Motilal Nehru becomes the president. Who is Pandit Motilal Nehru? He is the father, daddy of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So he becomes the president. So Pandit Motilal Nehru strongly condemned this massacre of people in the Jallianwala Bagh, where people came with unarmed, they were protesting against Saifuddin Kichlu and Satyapal's arrest and deportation. And now Motilal now supports Khilafat movement. The Caliphate movement was gaining more traction because the entire Islamic world was up in arms against the Britishers because they abolished the Caliphate, the Khalifa who's both the spiritual and temporal head of Muslims. So on this background, you can see the politics of India now slowly started to get changed, and mass movements become the new what you call strength of the Gandhian movement. So on this background, government has promised they are giving a reform, but that reform did not have what? What was the major thing? They were asking for self-governing institutions. Now, the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms now abolished the legislative 60-member legislative council. Now they are increasing the executive council. Earlier there were only 3 members plus viceroy. Now executive member 4, 5, 6 all were given to Indians. Another thing, they brought 2 houses, upper house, lower house. 60 a member upper house, 36 will be elected, 24 nominated, 36 elected. In lower house, 144 members. In this, 104 elected, 40 nominated. So you can see that 104 were elected and 40 nominated. So this was direct election. And in provinces, now you have diarchy, where transferred subjects and reserved subjects were there, both can legislate. So Khilafat movement. So in 1919, in Jallianwala Bagh, what you call massacre, the Amritsar session of Congress, Pandit Motilal Nehru supported the Khilafat movement. What is this Khilafat? Can we go back to the world history? What happened in 1453? Rahul, what happened in 1453 AD? What happened?
The Ottoman Turks conquered the Constantinople.
This was what empire?
Byzantine.
Byzantine Roman Empire. So Byzantine Roman Empire was what you call acquired by whom? By the Ottoman Turks, Muslims. So defeat of Christians in the hands of Muslims. Eastern Roman Christians were defeated and Ottoman. So now you can see that in 1881, the seat became permanent, and from then onwards, Ottomans, they ruled the world, most of the Islamic world, the Eastern Roman Empire, and till 1920s. Till 1920s, when the Western Roman Empire's biggest power, British came and they destroyed after nearly, you can see, 400 or 500 years time. So you can see in 500 years time, now Britishers take revenge and they dismantle the Turkey. Now the Sultan of Turkey is also the Khalifa, who's considered the religious head and both religious and temporal head. So he had both temporal and religious head. And now, according to the Treaty of Sevres, which was very harsh, Khalifa was deposed. All the lands which was associated with Khalifa in the Caliphate were also confiscated and they were made into independent sovereign nations. And people all over the world had sympathy towards the Khalifa who were ousted from his power and also denied any association to sit on the or to, as the head of the Muslims. In this way, Britishers earned the wrath of the Muslims pan worldwide. In India also, there was a lot of opposition, and that is why Pandit Moti Lal Nehru supported the um, the Khilafat movement. So in 1818, you can see prior to that, the Muslim League at Delhi, they had a session. Prior to 1919, Muslim League, Muhammad A. Ansari, he demanded the restoration of Arab lands to the Khalifa. Did British budge on this demand of Indians and worldwide Muslims? Did British budge? Did or concede to this demand? Rahul, did British budge to the demand of M.A. Ansari for restoration?
No, sir.
So no,
No, sir.
British did not budge, British did not concede. So that is why there was a lot of resentment against the British, and this anti-British feelings became very high. And from 1920 onwards, you can see there's a change in the attitude of Indian towards the, particularly Muslims towards the British. 1919, in April, May, All India Khilafat Conference was created. And in September 1919, you can see at Lucknow, September 1919 at Lucknow in United Provinces, Khilafat Committee was set up. All India Khilafat Committee was set up. So Seth Chotani was the president and the Maulana Shaukat Ali was secretary. And this Khilafat Committee was set up by the Ali brothers, Hakim Ajman Khan Ali and Hazrat Mohani Ali. These Ali brothers were the one who set up the Khilafat Committee, which was anti-British in its stance, and they set up to bring in, garner more people support and put pressure on the British government. So by November 1919, the Delhi they had a conference, All India Khilafat Conference at Delhi. And now in this November at Delhi All India Khilafat Conference, the members decided that we will withdraw all cooperation from the government if our demands are not met. That means we will not cooperate with the government of British and we will not support them on any of their activities in functioning of the government. In this way, All India Khilafat Conference wanted to put indirect, what you called, pressure on the government. So on February 1920, All India Khilafat Committee, they also had what? The Calcutta Khilafat Conference. In February 1920, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad was elected the president of this Khilafat Committee in Calcutta. So Maulana Azad, Abul Kalam Azad favored non-cooperation. That means it is a duty of a righteous man not to cooperate with the tyrant or unjust rulers. So they celebrated Khilafat Day. When? So on 15th May 1920, they wanted to celebrate as Khilafat Day, and that day they wanted to show the resentment against the British because this treaty of serfs were very harsh, which had cut the umbilical cord of the Muslims with their Khalifa. Yes,
ମୁଁ ଦେଖିଲି ଏଟା ତଲେଟି ଗୁଡ଼ା ହବାର କଥା।
no, I'm not able to hear you. Can you be
ବାହାର କରିଦବ ନା,
louder?
ଟିକେ ବାହାର କରିଦବ। ପାଇପ୍ ଟେ ହେଲେ ଦରକାର, ସେ ପାଇପ୍ ଟେ। ସରୁ ପାଇପ୍।
Rahul,
Yes, sir.
Rahul, what happened?
I think this there is problem of electricity, so that's why.
Okay. So you can see treaty of serfs was very harsh, and this treaty of serfs cut the umbilical cord of Muslims with Khalifa. So Bombay Central Khilafat Committee, they were firmly against implementing, so they started non-cooperation, and already they were into non-cooperation from August 1919 onwards. So non-cooperation movement and Khilafat Andolan or Khilafat movement. So during 1919 to 22, it is very important phase where Gandhiji assumes the leader of non-cooperation movement and Khilafat movement. From 1919 to 1922, British were opposed to two mass movements. What were the two mass movements?
Civil disobedience.
Okay, one is the Khilafat movement. Second one is non-cooperation movement. This non-cooperation movement is two mass movements, and this is opposed by whom? Opposed by the British. Why? It is anti-British. These two movements were what? Anti-British movements, yes or no? Is it pro-British or anti-British?
Anti-British.
It is anti-British. So you can see that what were the causes for the non-cooperation and Khilafat movement? You can see there were resentment at the British after the World War. They tried to destroyed. The demand is that Indians thought that in return to the extensive support, did India give support to Britain in World War I or not?
Yes, sir. India gave
So what
support.
was the now India money, India resources, India men, everything. So what Indians thought? Indians thought British will concede to the demands. Yes, this was the thought. British will concede to our demands. Did British concede? Did they concede? Did they give any concession? Because India gave what? Extensive support in the World War I. Extensive support in the World War I, and they would, and the Indians thought that they will be rewarded for that support. What kind of government they will give Swaraj? What do you mean by Swaraj? That means autonomy. Did British government give autonomy? But did British government give autonomy?
No, sir.
So they brought what? Government of India Act 1919, commonly called as Montagu Chelmsford reforms. In this Montagu, did they give autonomy? They did not give what they promised. What Lord Montagu promised to Annie Besant that we will give you constitution, we will build self-governing institution, we'll give autonomy. They cheated. Now Indians are understanding. And not only that, they also brought repressive act called Rowlatt Act. And further, they betrayed the Indians and angered the Indians that despite the wartime support we gave, our money, our people, our resources, everything, British comes and acts against the Indian, what we call motives. So you can see there was a big, what we call resentment. What led to the rise of non-cooperation and Khilafat movement. First is resentment at the British after the war. There is resentment. Who is resenting?
Indians.
Indians are resenting against the British. Second, Home Rule movement. And Home Rule movement was originally Indian movement, or it was derived from abroad? This movement
Derived
idea.
from abroad.
So you can see Home Rule movement was started by Annie Besant because she's an Irish lady. She got inspired by the Irish Home Rule movement and was implemented by Annie Besant and Bala Gangadhar Tilak. And they set the stage for NCM, non-cooperation movement. Who set the NCM stage? Annie Besant and Tilak. Third thing, what led to the rise of or causes of non-cooperation in Khilafat movement? So you can see the extremists and moderates of INC were united in 1916 in Lucknow Pact, where all the factions of Congress came through Lucknow Pact, where Congress, Muslim League, extremists, moderates, everybody, they came. So the return of extremists gave the Indian National Congress. Now they are having what? A militant character. That means what? It has armed the protest and other character into the Congress party. Fourth, you can see what was after World War One. After World War One, after a war, what will happen? Where great prosperity will come. What will happen? Economic hardships will come. Yes or no? Price rise will come. Yes. What will come after what you call after a war? A country will become very
Distress,
prosperous.
sir.
Huh?
Distress to the country.
Yeah,
Economic downfall.
yeah, prices of goods will become what? Very high. That means it will soar. When prices soar, what will happen? There will be more demand, less goods. Food will be there, but none of them can buy.
Inflation.
What happened now to Sri Lanka? How much it was? 1 kg of rice went to nearly rupees, what you call 750 to 1,000 rupees, Indian rupees. Can you imagine? 1 kg of rice it went. So that means Indian rupees. So 1 Indian rupee almost went to Sri Lankan rupees. They are almost 3 rupees. Then in Sri Lankan, can you imagine? So price rise. So this happened. People suffered, peasants suffered. When there is very high price rise, what will happen? Hunger will come. When hunger comes, what will come? Disease will come.
Same thing is going to happen to Pakistan also, sir, right now in that case.
Yeah, that is what is happening. So when the disease comes and agricultural produce is not there, now you can see that Pakistan is doing total chaos and neighboring countries chaos. If our country is going in this way, the high price rise, and now they are not bringing any measures, we fear India also will go that way if leaders don't have any what you call prejudices when they come out of this narrow parochial idea of dividing a country on religious lines rather than looking into governance. What they are doing pan India, the present government, only Hindu Muslim, Hindu Muslim, Hindu Muslim, and love jihad. Only they are coming against only putting country. This is what British also did. Present government is not very different from the British government. Go and compare it from what is in 2022 compared with 1922. Same politics is played of dividing rule, putting regressive laws, amending UAPA Act, NIA Act, and Information Technology Act, and put blanket on the press. If any hartal or anything is there, put them on the laws, behind the laws. So in this way, what happened in 2018? They put false act on the Bhima Koregaon, what you call justice. Did they do justice? Innocent people were put, and there some of them died also in prison. So in this way, what British did, same thing present government is doing. So you can see after World War I, India faced lot of death. India's resources were totally what? India bled white. That was the what he called the Dufferin wrote in his book, India was bled white in the World War I. That means all our resources, money, everything was spent for whose ego? For the ego of the British people. So now we can see peasants suffered, all led to the great resentment against the government. And moreover, fourth one, Rowlatt Act, and fifth one, Rowlatt Act and the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. This was very, very unavoidable. This repressive Rowlatt Act brutally massacred the Jallianwala Bagh participants in the protest, unarmed, and it had a very profound effect on the Indian leaders and particularly the people. So the people lost all the faith what was reposed on the British justice of British system of justice. And now people all country they rallied behind the the leaders of Congress, as well as they are pitching for more aggressive and firm stand against the government. But Gandhiji said no violence, only non-violence. So Khilafat movement, sixth movement, what led to the rise of non-cooperation in Khilafat movement. During the First World War, Turkey became an ally with Germany and they fought the British. So Turkey was attacked by the British and British was defeated. The Ottoman king and as well as the Caliphate was uh, dissolved. The Khilafat movement was launched by the Muslims worldwide as well as in India to persuade the British not to abolish the Caliphate, to reinstate the Caliph, to give the Caliph the Arab lands and other countries and let him be the temporal and physical spiritual head of the Muslims. But British did not participate. Now, the non-cooperation leaders, particularly in 1919, in August session, in the special session of Amritsar, Motilal Nehru accepted the non-cooperation movement, and now they all joined against the British. So these are the causes led to the rise of people's anger against the British. So common demand, Congress and Khilafat Committee, the 0 and 3 demands. What did they say? They said autonomy, Swaraj. Then they say redressal of the Khilafat issue. British should return back Caliphate to the Khalifa and also redress for the Punjab wrongdoings, particularly the terror unleashed in Jallianwala Bagh and Punjab province by the British. So you can see in 1919, Khilafat Committee was formed under the leadership of Ali brothers. Who were the Ali brothers? Ali brothers, particularly Shaukat Ali and Muhammad Ali. So you can see in this, Maulana Ajmal Khan and Gandhiji all came, and Gandhiji headed All India Khilafat Committee. Who was the head of All India Khilafat Committee? Gandhiji was the head of All India Khilafat Committee. So what was the features of the non-cooperation movement? Essentially, non-cooperation movement protest was a peaceful one and a non-violent one. So you can see that the Calcutta session, the British, the Congress party wanted all-party conference so that they will reintroduce their techniques of boycott and Swadeshi, where boycott will be introduced as a program where boycott all the foreign made groups. By 1st August, the Balagangadhar Tilak, the very tallest leader of Congress, died in 1st August 1920. Why? Because from after the Home Rule movement, Balagangadhar Tilak went to England because a particular writer had put case on him and his writings were taken in his book as an evidence of Tilak as the father of all the unrest, revolutionary unrest in India, and he was what we call indicated. And Tilak had put a case, but he lost that case, and Tilak was about to sell his as a printing presses in Pune, particularly where Kesari and Maratha. So people did not want such a big tallest leader, his press, because press was very costly to what you call it, but he was running it. So people started Tilak Swaraj Fund. So in 1920 September, special Congress session in Calcutta, they convened and they started the non-cooperation movement. So Gandhi ji, you can see that in 1920 December normal session of Congress at Nagpur, Veera Raghavacharya, C. Veera Raghavacharya, who became the president of Congress, he supported Khilafat movement, and also he made the endorsement made in Calcutta in the special session in 1920. Now, in 1920 December, new constitution of Congress was framed. With that, Mahatma Gandhi ji becomes the one and only sole leader of Congress party. So this brings Gandhi ji into the forefront of Indian politics. So what was the course of movement? This Khilafat and non-cooperation movement, people from different places came and they all joined their hands. So Hindu-Muslim unity was unprecedented. How? Swami Shraddhananda, a Hindu Swami, preached in the Jama Masjid after the Friday prayers. So this was very unprecedented. How a Hindu Swami went and preached the sermon after the Kutuba is read. What do you mean by Kutuba? In Islamic worship in the liturgy, Kutuba. Have anybody gone to mosque?
No, sir.
In the name of the leader, sir, like
No.
earlier it used to be read on the name of the king or emperor.
Yeah. So if you go there inside a mosque, there'll be a central aisle portion, and there will be what you called a place where, like this central place. Have you seen like this?
Yes, sir.
It will be like this. No image, nothing. Okay. And maybe a candle stand might be there. Okay. Maybe a candle stand will be there. Okay. So there is one thing called kutuba. What is that kutuba? You know, there is a stand. How we have pulpit, this stand, but this stand is just a stick, and this stick will be like this. Have you seen? This is a stick, means it's a log of wood. It does not have stand, it had to be held. And this stick, they will place the Holy Quran. And this, they then both the hands, the reciter or Maulana will keep, and this down portion will be hitting the ground. So on this stand, from left to from right to left, it will be read in Arabic. So all those verses in Quran will be Arabic. And this is called the Kutuba stand or Kutuba, where the Kutuba will be read, where portions of the Muslim scripture, it will be like this. The stand, and this on this, it will be read by the reciter or the presenter. Okay. So that is, so Swami Shraddhananda stood here and he preached in Jama Masjid. So that was unprecedented in 1920. So because from 1857 onwards, British used divide and rule, and they had poisoned, they gave separate electorate, they gave communal electorate, they brought Muslim League, they brought what he called, they used Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, they used the Nawab of Dhaka, everybody. But now British, the people understood that British are not for supporting the Muslims, they're anti-Muslims. So boycott of courts, government schools. So people were asked, because the Treaty of Sevres had completely dismembered Turkey. It removed its emperor, it removed its caliphate, and people were asked to now, and against this brutal act of the government on background of all the massacre they had done. and also industries needed up to crores of people. Now, Indians were asked by their Indian national movement leaders to resign from their government jobs, boycott the schools. Children should be drawn from the government schools and put into the Swadeshi schools, boycott all foreign goods, boycott the elections which is conducted, give the government functions, give the titles, and they also should not serve in the army. So they established what you called panchayats. So you can see that Indian National Congress demanded Swarajya. Why was Swaraj asked or Swarajya was asked? Self-government, because British did not deliver in the 1919 Government of India Act as promised. So you can see now Indian National Congress was ready to forego the constitutional means now and achieve self-rule. That means what? They are ready to take up even what you call to fight out the British. In Bengal, the movement was started in the Union Board of Taxes. Union Board of Taxes in Bengal, they did not pay money to the taxes board. People protested and they did not cooperate with them. So no tax campaign was started in Andhra Pradesh. So in Andhra Pradesh said no tax campaign in the Andhra region of Madras Presidency. Later, you can see that many popular resentment came, and also Moplas, particularly in Kerala, this Moplas, they also did not cooperate and they were massacred by the Hindu Nambudri Brahmins and high caste Nair people. Later, the Mopla Muslims also retaliated. So it was a very sad day that you can see everywhere there was protest and there were killings. In some places, there was unprecedented unity in South India. Muslims and Hindu landlords were fighting and they were killing Hindu and Muslim people in the name of what we call taxes and land. So you can see in the same movement, Akali movement started in Punjab. We saw what was Akali movement. The Mahans or the priests, they started treating the Gurdwara property as a private property, and lot of corruption and injustice was done. So the Akalis leaders, they started by Singh Sabha. Can you remember Singh Sabha?
Yes, sir.
Later, Shiromani Gurudwara Prapandak Committee, SGPC, was formed, and it became very democratic, and only through this the committee of the Gurudwara, every Gurudwara will be functioning. So you can see in Assam, what happened in Assam? In Assam, Adivasis, they also protested, went on strike in Assam, and tea plantations. They did not go for plantations work, and Adivasis were in large number, particularly the Mundas, the Santalis, the Kadia, Urang, all these tribes of Assam, Adivasi, they protested against the British. They said, we will not work and we will not pay. And Gandhiji becomes the leader of this movement, and he promised Swaraj can be achieved in a year if this movement is complete. But you can see slowly there is turn of events happening. So in the national movement, nationalist colleges were established. Why? Because people were asked to quit from the government colleges and schools. So they said, we have to establish colleges to educate these people. So you can see Jamia Millia Islamia, Bihar Vidyapita, Kashi Vidyapita, all were established. And Swadeshi, Khadi was popularized. Boycott was introduced. And other evils, particularly the evils which is there in society against the Dalits, untouchables and women, those issues were again taken in the forefront. So this movement became very big, what he called a hit. In 1920, you can see the issues started. So Tilak Swaraj Fund was created. Why was Tilak Swaraj Fund was created?
Because he had to pay high compensation in the England court.
Yes. So you can see Gandhiji and others, everybody wanted this compensation, which Tilak could not pay to safeguard this press of Maratha and Kesari. They wanted to give. So popular leaders like Chittaranjan Das, Rajendra Prasad, Chakravarti, Raja Gopalachari, everybody, they left their active practice and joined the Khilafat committee headed by Gandhi. So Gandhi gave the call for what? For the people to not to cooperate, and which became, he said, if we are taking this movement without any violence, everything, in 1 year, British government cannot function. So a call was given by Khilafat committee that Muslims should not serve in the British Indian Army. Ali brothers, now will British simply sit quiet? British also took lot of what? Action, and they arrested Ali brothers for sedition, for their war against the nation, and they were deported. Okay, so shall we stop here? We'll stop here. So tomorrow we will see what happened to the agitations and how did this NCM movement go progress. And there was a very nasty incident called Chauri Chora incident. Gandhiji abruptly stopped and all those things. Tomorrow we'll see. Okay. No, not tomorrow. Next week, because tomorrow is Saturday and Sunday. No. So Monday, I will try to get back to you. Monday we'll have class. Is that okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, ma'am. See you.
Yes,
See you.
sir.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Okay, good night. Bye.